All right. We appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football on a Tuesday in June. How about that? We are only about 5 or 6 weeks away from media days across the country, starting with the Big 12. They will kick us off in regards to media days, the SEC and the Big 10 to follow, and the ACC kickoff. That's when it's certainly talking season, but very close to football playing on the field. August camp opens right around August 1st, and we're off and running after that. I'm sure Jackson at some point in the show will update us on how many days it is until opening day of the college football season, week 0. I love this matchup, Kansas State and Iowa State. We'll talk a little Kansas State football and Iowa State more from a historical perspective during this show today. We go live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with you, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We also are looking for a spot to do our watch party for June. And again, I guarantee we are going to deliver a watch party. And the winner of the watch party, the first off-season watch party, members only, folks. So you can subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football, become a member, whether that be on YouTube or on Patreon. So don't be confused or perplexed or think that I'm trying to get 2 memberships out of you. Patreon started first with the memberships. Once we got that rolling, we did not want to take away those memberships and try to transfer everyone to YouTube. So you get the option YouTube or Patreon, get the same benefits in both locales. So for members, we're going to do it here in the next couple of weeks. I had a few travel plans that will be pushed to August, so we have a little bit more time to schedule the Michigan win over Ohio State watch parties coming up. So rest assured, Michigan fans, you will be able to gloat, and I will enjoy your company for the Michigan win over Ohio State, 42-27. And then here's the deal. We're going to do the watch party of a vintage recent classic for June. This is the June selection. Then we've got July and August. We will put a vote out there. And so you select. And then once we get into the season, we're going to plan some watch parties on a regular basis because I think it's a great way to go. We can enjoy the games after all the excitement and emotion on Saturday. We can take a poll on Sunday, see what game you would like to watch as a watch party, and we'll do it. We got Monday Night Football. Someone reminded me of that here in the last day. Monday Night Football on Monday may not be the best time to do it. We shall see when we will do the watch party. But a lot of time to plan before that. We want to go back through the Big 12 all-time rankings that we put together, and I will be unveiling the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC. And released that video about a week ago with the Big 12 rankings. We showed it on here yesterday, didn't really dive into it, but we will do so during this edition. Also, as you see on the thumbnail and also on the title of the show, with another quarterback edition in Michigan, basically you've got, not that all these guys are great quarterbacks by any stretch, but it's just, man, it's a crowded quarterback room. Not that there's a doubt on who is the quarterback. But what I'm saying is I don't know that you can go to a quarterback room across the country and find guys that are known. You know, you got the hot shot 5-star. You've got last year's starting quarterback, one of them. You've got another hot shot who came in, I believe, the year before, either in 2023 or 2024, it would have been with Jaden Davis. And then you got now the newest addition in Jake Garcia, who was a top 25 prospect, not top 25 quarterback, top 25 overall player, who's been now the journeyman of journeymen since JT Daniels, I guess. And then also, we still haven't even gotten to the guy that might be the game one starter, and that would be Mikey Keene, who's put together a pretty nice career for himself at UCF and Fresno State. So we will talk about that in particular. I'll give you my take on the situation. But more than that, we'll bring in TJ from our Michigan channel. Catch the Michigan shows on Tuesday and Thursday with John D'Adamo. And TJ's going to stop by to give his take on Michigan football, and in particular, the Michigan quarterback room, again, with another edition today. And Jake Garcia top 25 player in the 2021 recruiting class. And this is a guy that was actually, if you remember, Tyler Van Dyke's big breakout in 2021. So De'Ara King was the starting quarterback in Miami in 2020, a Houston transfer. Really had a great 2020 season, was a really accomplished quarterback, dual threat guy, exciting, dynamic quarterback at Houston. De'Ara King transferred to Miami, had a nice season in 2020. Early in 2021, serious injury for De'Ara King. Turned the job over. It should have been to Jake Garcia. Jake Garcia was the number 2 quarterback at Miami at that point. But Jake Garcia was injured in training camp. I may get this slightly off. This was very early in the 21 season. He was either injured in training camp as the number 2 quarterback or very early in the 21 season. So Miami had to go to its third string quarterback, and Tyler Van Dyke played out of his mind. And a lot of people at that point, especially Miami fans, thought that that was a precursor of great things to come for Tyler Van Dyke. But no, it's just a flash in the pan for like 8 games. Basically threw for 350 and 3 or 4 touchdowns every week. So Tyler Van Dyke eclipsed Jake Garcia. Then Jake Garcia hung around for the next season. Van Dyke got hurt. Jake Garcia got into some games for Miami and looked terrible. Terrible. Jake Garcia has a game against, I believe it's Middle Tennessee State. We'll have to look up the numbers. Middle Tennessee State, I believe, beat Miami by 3 touchdowns. One of the oddest games. Middle Tennessee had one of the worst offenses in the country. They were a 3-touchdown underdog that won by 3 touchdowns, like 45-21 comes to mind. And they had, I believe, 3 touchdown plays of over 90 yards. Well, that was not Jake Garcia's fault, but he was equally atrocious in the game, had 4 interceptions, I believe, 3 or 4. So then Jake Garcia goes to Missouri. I don't know what he was doing there because Brady Cook was the starter, and he never played at Missouri in 2023. Then he turns around and goes to East Carolina. And you're talking about a top 25 player, top 3 quarterback, 3 or 4 quarterback in the country coming out of high school, went to East Carolina last season, won the job as the starter coming out of camp, but he was benched after throwing 12 interceptions, 8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and was replaced by a former Michigan State quarterback. I'm trying to think of his name. Kevin Hauser. He was a former Michigan State quarterback, replaced Jake Garcia at East Carolina after about 6 or 7 games. So I guess I've given you a lot of information on Jake Garcia and his road to Ann Arbor. But if you want to boil it down to a nutshell, you don't want Michigan fans, Jake Garcia, taking any meaningful snaps this year. You don't want that. No. So again, we'll size it up with TJ when he stops by to talk Michigan football. But Bryce Underwood, I would expect to be the starter game 1. I think that this was a situation where most of us thought, including myself, and I'm not a Michigan brain trust. I do not have connections with Michigan football. You pretty much know the connections I have. One would be TJ. He's coming on today. Also, Steve Day's Michigan podcast. We talk to Isaiah Hull once in a while. And those are the people that I talk to that have connections to Michigan football and some inside intel. So I expected the typical progression where, okay, you've got the 5-star, and he's a true freshman. This is not a Julian Sayans situation where he's a redshirt freshman. Big difference. Even though Sayan only threw 12 passes last year, still got into games, and more so it's the off-season conditioning for a second time. It's the weight training. It's filling out, becoming comfortable with the offense and with the signals and with the terminology and all of that. Just having another year, even though you did not play in regular competition. I think there's a big difference there. So Bryce Underwood, I thought, without, again, having insight into what's going on there at Michigan, would be a guy that would give way to Mikey Keene. And Mikey Keene, you bring him in from Fresno State. He was the starting quarterback at UCF. 65 touchdowns, 28 picks for Mikey Keene, 68% completion percentage. Really good quarterback. Michigan fans got to see Mikey Keene when Fresno State was at the Big House last year. And Fresno State actually had a shot in that game. A shot. And they were driving the ball down the field in the final 4 minutes. And then Mikey Keene threw a pick six to Will Johnson, and that sealed it. They could have gone in to get within 23-17, I believe. So he throws the pick six. And Mikey Keene, he's had a decent career, but he's injured. He did not play in the spring. So a lot of quarterbacks here, but there's an angle on all of them. Then, of course, our good buddy Davis Warren, who was Michigan's starting quarterback, benched, came back as the starting quarterback, and then had to watch Alex Orji come into some situations in the red zone that he didn't belong. But Davis Warren, of course, was Michigan's starting quarterback for both the bad early and then also the good late with the big wins against Ohio State and Michigan. So let's get to this Michigan quarterback situation. That's my take on it, but we'll get a much better read on it from our guy, TJ. You can catch TJ, of course, on the Michigan Show every Tuesday and Wednesday. The call-in show's on Thursday. So Tuesday and Thursday, let me get that straight, Tuesday and Thursday. TJ, good to see you, man.
Hey, good to see you too, Mark. Glad to be here. Glad to talk some Michigan football with you.
So I gave it my rough breakdown. I have a take on Jake Garcia. I've seen him play. It's been rough. He's been like a free agent type almost, but this was a top 25 player coming out of high school. So anyway, everyone heard my take on Garcia. Mikey Keene, of course. We saw him at the Big House for Fresno State, and he's a pretty accomplished player. So I think that we kind of shared the same perspective initially, where Mikey Keene would be the veteran, the guy that would ease Bryce Underwood into the situation. But Bryce Underwood's been so impressive, and obviously Mikey Keene hasn't even been able to step on the field because of injuries in the spring. So let's start there with your expectation of who's going to be there on game one.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fascinating debate because initially I was in the position that you were, Mark. I thought Mikey Keene would kind of, allow the young freshman to get his feet under him, find a balance, get familiar with the college football game, the speed of the game, and going into intense environments like we're going to be doing in Norman, Oklahoma on week 2. But it does appear, due to the Mikey Keene injury that happened in spring ball, and Bryce Underwood's performance in spring ball, we have reached a point of undeniable. Bryce Underwood is undeniable. He's so undeniable is because of his undeniability. It's an open secret that he's going to be starting week 1. Mikey Keene is a quality backup, much better. If we had Mikey Keene last season, Mark, highly likely we're a playoff team. Highly likely. Now, not a guarantee, but far better QB than what we had last season, last year. But so, what's interesting is with the Jake Garcia news, it was actually quite funny because there was a lot of fluster from rivals and our own fan base over the Jake Garcia addition, because a lot of them were concerned that, is Bryce Underwood not meeting expectations? Is our QB room that terrible, etc.? Well, the reality is our QB room is far greater than it was last season. And the reality is this: Bryce Underwood is a freshman who is not even 18 years old. He is 17. He turns 18 in August. We don't have depth in the room. Mikey Keene was injured. He is now throwing. He looks to be ready to be the backup come fall camp. But behind him, all we had was Jaden Davis. Jaden Davis, who was a former top 100 recruit, fairly touted well, was previously in the 5-star ranking, but he fell down the rankings. His issue is he has a mechanics issue that isn't going to play well at the college game. He has a windup, which is going to make it very easy for batted down passes, interceptions. and things of that nature. So that's one of the concerns with Jaden Davis. So our QB room looks like this, Mark. We have Bryce Underwood, we have Mikey Keene in the backup role. Jake Garcia is likely going to be the third option, although there's a lot of, the rivals want to rub it in saying how terrible our quarterback situation is because we had a Jake Garcia, but the reality is likely the third option. Then you have Davis Warren, who tore his ACL. He likely won't be back until some are speculating October. So you don't have him through fall camp. And then you have Jaden Davis. And then you have the Herb Street kid. So what this addition really is, the Jake Garcia addition, is it's just depth. They are going to allow Jake Garcia, obviously, to compete. They're not going to tell him, hey, you're not going to. Of course, he's going to be able to compete. But the reality is, it's a lot. It's a lot to do about nothing. The truth is, Bryce Underwood is, as long as he is healthy, will be QB1. He was not going to be challenged. And that's just kind of where it is. We are going to live and die with an 18-year-old quarterback this season.
Yeah, if you just like to keep up with college football and just like names, it's fascinating because there's just so many names there. Like Jaden Davis was a big name when he was being recruited. Obviously, Bryce Underwood eclipsed him. But yeah, Mikey Keene's a guy that's thrown 65 touchdowns, so he's been around. Davis Warren was the starting quarterback last year. Jake Garcia was a top 25 quarterback. Herb Street's even got a name because of his last name. So Jaden Davis, why is he sticking around? Is there some speculation that what's he going to do?
Yeah. So, okay. This is also another fascinating discussion in the Michigan circles, because the reality is, if I had to put money on it, Mark, he's going to enter the transfer portal in December. So if you look at it, they didn't add Jake Garcia until the portal window was closed. They allowed, because of the Mikey Keene injury, they allowed Jaden Davis and Bryce Underwood to battle through camp. We only had 2 active quarterbacks in camp because Herb Street was not even on campus yet. Davis Warren was injured and Mikey Keene was injured, right? So we only had 2 quarterbacks all through spring ball. They allowed Jaden Davis and Bryce Underwood to battle throughout camp. And then the reality is they add Jake Garcia after the portal window, so Jaden Davis cannot enter. He will have to wait until the December portal to enter. It's highly likely, if I had to put money on it, Adam Lamparello, if you want to bet me, we could put money on it. But Jaden Davis will be entering the portal in December, would be my speculation. We'll see. But, I would expect him to try and find an opportunity elsewhere.
So, yeah, when I heard this news about Jake Garcia, it was less about me thinking, oh, Bryce Underwood's not ready. It was more about them being concerned possibly about the health of Mikey Keene and him being ready to be the backup.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really an insurance policy, right? Because we want to make sure we have enough in the room to go through fall camp. And, I don't anticipate, I honestly don't believe Jake Garcia is even going to challenge Mikey Keene, but, let him battle. I mean, let him go toe to toe in camp. You can't hand it to these kids, right? At the end of the day, they do have to earn it, which I think Michigan's going to have them do. But again, if I was putting money on it, I'm quite confident it's going to go Underwood, Keene, then Garcia. Jaden Davis, unfortunately, is going to be the odd man out. Davis Warren will return around October. And then Herb Street's going to enjoy the virtues of being a D1 athlete.
All right, TJ, we'll let everyone know, and I'm sure just about everyone watching realizes Tuesday and Thursday on the Michigan channel, everyone, 8 p.m. Eastern time with TJ. And keep in mind, hey, obviously, if you're a Michigan fan, you got to be there. If you're an Ohio State fan, you got to be there and trash talk. Yeah. And even if you just love college football, you got to keep up with Michigan. So check it out on Tuesday and Thursday. A couple quick things here. So what would be your position unit that you've got some concern going into this season?
It's a great question. I have 2, but I'll give you one. Offensive line. I am concerned about left tackle. Left tackle is it's an unknown. We're putting, if you remember last season, we had a right tackle issue. It was Evan Link. Well, he's at left tackle now. So Andrew Sprague is going to be our right tackle. Evan Link's our left tackle. He should be a guard. He's not a tackle. He's not quick enough for the outside, for those edges. He's good at moving people, but he gets beat. So I'm very concerned about left tackle. We do have a 5-star freshman. That's dangerous, in my opinion. Andrew Babaloa, who was the 2nd-rated offensive tackle last cycle. There's some buzz. He looks good, but I just don't trust freshmen. So my concern is the offensive line. If I got to give you a second one, though, Mark, it's wide receiver. We have a lot of unproven at wide receiver. Donovan McCauley is going to be our wide receiver 1, but then what? We have 2 promising freshmen and Andrew Marsh and Jamar Browder. They're promising, but they're freshmen again. So you never know how they're going to acclimate to the college game. Outside of that, I mean, Samaj Morgan has not produced. Fred Moore has not produced. We actually have a running joke on our channel where we have some viewers who make fun of our receivers. It's like a running joke on there. So, so those would be the two position groups I had my biggest concerns with.
Well, if I remember, our buddy John Diadamo is a Fred Moore guy.
He supporter.
Yeah. So he's a little guy, a little shifty guy, right?
Well, he's like 6'1". He's 6'1". He's got a little speed to him, but he's not the biggest guy, But his issue is consistency. But here's the argument, right? We didn't have an offensive coordinator who knew how to be an offensive coordinator, and we didn't have a quarterback who could get him the ball. And there was a lot of instances last season where our wide receivers were open. So we'll find out this year the reality. We have a veteran offensive coordinator in Chip Lindsey, and we have a quarterback who can get them the ball. So to be determined on some of it. That's why it's a good debate. Again, we have these debates every Thursday on the call-in show. Anyone can call in, whether it's a Michigan fan or a rival fan or just a college football fan. These are the debates we're having every week on the Voice of College Football in Michigan.
I think I'm also mixing up average Michigan receiver. Samaj Morgan, he had the big play against
Iowa.
No, I was thinking a little crossing route against Alabama in the Rose Bowl to score Michigan's first touchdown.
So that was Tyler Morris.
Who was hurt all season, right?
Yeah.
And then he came on late and
Yep. And he transferred, so he's gone. I think he went to Northwestern. I could be wrong.
Why would he leave? But like those kind of situations mystify me because he looked like a guy that from what I know, which is a lot less than you, that he was a fairly highly touted receiver. He got nicked up that season, so he didn't get much of a chance. But then the break between the end of the season and the playoff game gave him some time to prove himself and show himself in camp. And then he makes a couple big plays in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's just he got put lower on the depth chart, with the Fred Moore and Samaj Morgan playing those positions. So, he just didn't get the opportunity he wanted. And correction, it wasn't Northwestern, it was Indiana. So Kirk Cignetti's is going to have his opportunity with Tyler Morris. But so it's just one of those things where he didn't make the depth chart and he was looking for opportunity elsewhere. Plus, the offense, it has a stigma it needs to overcome, which is it's not a very beneficial offense for wide receivers. They're trying to overcome that. Actually, Michigan's making some big swings at some wide receiver prospects right now. They actually are projected to get Travis Johnson, who's a very good wide receiver out of Virginia. So Michigan's trying to change that narrative, but we'll see what they can do with that.
Our friend Leanne Herring, she's high on Andrew Marsh. I think he's a Texas kid that she's familiar with.
Yes. Love Andrew Marsh. I mean, he is good. I mean, he really is. I anticipate him taking over the Z position. So right now it is Fred Moore. Well, I mean, in theory, because he's a senior, he's a junior. But I do believe it'll be Andrew Marsh at some point in the season who takes over that Z position. He's good. He has all the ability. He's physical. Twitchy, quick, has good hands, just has the right mentality, but he's a freshman. So we'll find out. And thank you, Bito, but we'll find out, what does Andrew Marsh, how does he acclimate to the college game? That's the biggest step for a lot of our young guys is how do they acclimate next season?
The Bull will win. Appreciate the contribution here. My man, TJ, best in the business. Just so you know, Mark, he is a real professional, handles recruiting exceptionally well. Well, who do you think hired TJ?
It was Mark Rogers.
Yes. So, we know that. But we appreciate the contribution. Absolutely. TJ's tearing it up over there on the Michigan channel. So before you run, I think the NCAA investigation got a held recruiting back, and now it's kicking back in.
Well, no, I mean, it's a good question. So I'll give you an update on both. So the Committee of Infractions meeting just happened a week ago. That was more or less, I don't know, that wasn't really holding recruiting back. But regarding that, we have a 30 to 90 day window before we find out the results or the verdict of that meeting and what does that mean for Michigan. And which will be, I'll tell you, that'll be must-see TV, whether you're watching Buckeye Channel, Ohio State, the Voice of College Football, or if you're watching Michigan at the Voice of College Football, because one side's winning that debate, and it'll be a good time either way. But Regarding recruiting, the reason why recruiting is on fire or it's green light right now is because the House bill just passed. Michigan was waiting for the House bill to pass before they guaranteed numbers to recruits because they didn't want to be in a position where they were guaranteeing numbers and they couldn't fit it under the cap, or they didn't know the roster size. It's going to be 105, although there's going to be scholarship exceptions. But that was really what it was. Michigan just wanted to kind of slow play it until they knew the parameters of, the new rulings. And now that they know, they're already set up to go full speed, and they are. I mean, since that House bill, as soon as that House bill passed on a Friday, we landed a commitment Sunday night, Monday. We took these kids from Notre Dame, very good 4-star prospects, and Michigan is right now on a tear. And we're going to have an update on all that tonight at 8 p.m. Mark.
Awesome. And I'm on record as saying it's going to be a slap on the wrist from the NCAA. I don't see anything coming of that.
Yeah, my prediction is I do anticipate them doing like 4. So Michigan self-imposed 2 games for Sharon Moore, which is week 3 and 4, which is funny. I do think
which were the games to select? I know Nebraska fans are taking angst at this, that they're being targeted as, oh, you don't think we're worthy of a difficult game, but it's got to be early in the season. It's got to be back-to-back games. And you're not going to do it against Oklahoma going on the road, your first big game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that was the logical 2 to take.
I think it is the logical 2. I think that frustrates people because it is the logical 2. They want Michigan to suffer. Like a lot of people want Michigan to suffer. But so I do think Sharon's going to get 2 more additional games. And and John Diadamo, my co-host on Michigan Wolverines Live, makes a great point. He thinks it's going to be this year. He thinks the NCAA is going to make Sharon Moore miss 4 games this year. It's possible. But I do believe Michigan's going to get a fine in the 10 to 20 million range. It's going to be a very large fine. I do anticipate Michigan getting like recruiting restrictions as well. And I do think we're going to see show causes for Jim Harbaugh, Connor Stalions, Chris Partridge, but I don't think we're going to see anything more. I don't see postseason bans. I don't see wins being taken away. I definitely don't see the Big Ten championship or the national title being taken away. And that's what a lot of rivals want. They want blood. But I just don't see it. I even have a $100 bet with a prominent Ohio State social media account, DG. I believe that's what he goes by, DG Buckeye or something like that. He thinks we're going to lose wins or get at least 1 year of postseason bans. I just don't see it, but we'll see. We'll find out. To be determined, Mark.
Good stuff. TJ, Good to see you. Get after it, of course, tonight and on Thursday.
Will do, Mark. Thank you for having me on.
Our guy, TJ. And again, it's Michigan Talk on the Michigan channel at the Voice of College Football, 8 p.m. tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and then also Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm also surprised, we've done about 70 of these shows. Sometimes surprised at who doesn't know that I'm live. All right. Very good. So we want to dive into the Big 12 as well. And don't want to miss anything interesting here in the chat. Cliff's here. Jim is here. Ed is here, who believes you're definitely getting a postseason ban. That was definitely kicked around after Stallions and others met with the infractions committee. About 10 days ago? I saw that come out as being a prediction of many people that should know something more than most of us do, that there would be a prediction about a ban going forward. It's hard to conceive and balance the violations, if we can get to the heart of it and what the truth is, versus what the penalty should be. Because if these are truly serious violations to be taken seriously, then the games that are in question, those should be the ones that are attacked. The games and the championships in the past. Why would you punish going forward? What basically TJ, and TJ's much closer to it and keeps track of it more so than I do, what he says, I know that's easy for me to say, that's a slap on the wrist, recruiting violations and $5 to $10 million and show causes for those coaches. But those show causes for those coaches don't much matter, especially for 2 of them. So we shall see in about 2 to 3 months, I believe, is the estimate on when all that is going to come down. John, we've dropped your name a few times, so you just missed it. But we, of course, are talking Michigan football in the quarterback room, and I made my points about a crowded Michigan quarterback room. But crowded usually means you don't know who the starter is. You got to figure that out. In this case, it's just crowded with a lot of college football names that if you're a college football junkie, you recognize these names. And again, they added another one today to the locker room in Ann Arbor with Jake Garcia, who's been nondescript as a college quarterback, but a top 25 recruit coming into college football in 2021. Again, if you're just joining us, I kind of ran through my deal on all these guys. Mikey Keene, what he brings to the table. Jake Garcia, who's an interception machine and hopefully won't see the field for Michigan football fans in meaningful games against good teams. You know, if he's mopping up the 52-10 game against Maryland, fine. But otherwise, you don't want to see him on the field. Actually, I would say that if Davis Warren gets back quickly, and this is incomprehensible to consider this statement as of a year ago, but based on what I saw out of Davis Warren, and I understand he was awful. He threw 3 interceptions against Arkansas State. He got benched. And despite Michigan's historic win against Ohio State, he threw an inconceivable pass to Jack Sawyer on the goal line. Like, he wasn't good. I'm not touting Davis Warren as a good quarterback. He should never step on the field and take a snap for Michigan football again against a good team in a meaningful situation. But based on his improvement when he came back late in the season, albeit take away that Jack Sawyer pass, in everything else I saw, and the bowl game against Alabama, where I thought he threw the ball pretty well. And I'm trying to think of the other game. I thought he threw the ball well against Oregon. From the time that he came back, I touted him as the guy that should be playing quarterback for Michigan last year instead of Alex Orji. I think that those interception issues, they were against one team. It wasn't, again, that could have been coached out of Davis Warren easier than trying to coach a passing skill into Alex Orji. So anyway, Davis Warren played reasonably well down the stretch. And if you get into a bind where, God forbid, Bryce Underwood gets hurt, Mikey Keene's not ready, then you would rather have Davis Warren, who apparently also would not be ready early in the season. But let's say it's a little later in the season. You would rather have Davis Warren, I believe, play quarterback than Jake Garcia. That's my estimation on the two quarterbacks. I think you can, at least a Michigan team that is stout at running back. You know, TJ says that the offensive line's in question, but let's say it's a typical Michigan offensive line effort and the defense is one of the best in the nation. You go with Davis Warren and you win games 17-13. And you do not put Jake Garcia out there to throw 3 interceptions a game. So I'm not saying either option is ideal. I'm not saying that either option is ideal. I also made my predictions on Michigan football. It's right in front of me, not to be unveiled. I will just say this, and I'm releasing predictions right now. Released Iowa just a few minutes ago, so check it out. The Iowa record predictions here. We did like North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and maybe somebody else. We'll start getting to some teams that you care about, but we're trying to get to all of them in the power conferences. I didn't try to do this, but I went through all the schedules, of course, wrote down the records, made sure that they were plausible, that this scenario was plausible. Get this. I've got a scenario here where you fill up the 12 spots with the 5 conference champions, and then anybody who goes 10-2 in the SEC or the Big Ten, they've got a spot. and 10 of the 12 spots are filled with those teams. You either won your conference or you were 10-2 in the SEC or the Big Ten, okay? Follow me there? So that means there's only 2 spots left. 2 spots left. This would be a nightmare. I would love it. Would love to see this scenario play out because it would just be chaotic, and I love chaos. 2 spots left. Get this, everyone. 2 spots left in my scenario. That's right here. Don't take a picture of it or a snapshot and blow it up because you'll ruin my predictions. 2 spots left. And this seems inconceivable, but 14 teams that are either 10-2 or 9-3. 14 teams vying for 2 spots. Seems a bit ridiculous. But I will say this, that we have laid it all out through various videos here at the Voice of College Football and looked at previous playoff seasons, that if there was a 16-team playoff, which of course we don't have now, but even a 12-team playoff, most of those seasons, for as much controversy as there seemed to be at the conclusion of last season with SMU getting in, Indiana's got a bad schedule. Here we got Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss with these really strong schedules, but they got 3 losses, and that clash of opinions, that was nowhere close to the controversy that we would have had most seasons between 2014 and 2023 if there was a 12-team playoff or a 16-team playoff. We are going to routinely have situations, folks, where we've got, okay, these 10 should be in. There's no doubt. Okay, let me revise that. Since we're going to be at 16 starting next year anyway, these 13, they make it because they won a conference, or they're 11-1, or they're 11-2, or 10-3, or 10-2, and they play in the Big Ten or the SEC. And we got 3 spots left where there's like 9 teams that are razor close. They're 9-3, but they played a better schedule than them. They're 10-2, and they're 10-2, and they're 9-3. A bunch of 9-3 and 10-2 teams. It plays out like that every year. Do not expect a clean cut top 12 or top 16 to make it into the college football playoff. There will be controversy every year, and there will be a logjam. Now, nothing close to the logjam that I created unintentionally. It's crazy, the logjam I created. So I'm either going to change my predictions, but these are the predictions I made, and I'm telling you, you're going to have it's just going to be wild if anything close to what my predictions say here will come true. It will be chaotic and wild. Ed, completely unbiased, picking Oklahoma to beat Michigan 34-9. Levi stopping by to talk some college football here. The problem is that the CFP doesn't exist to find the best or the most deserving teams, so you can't really use that as a barometer. I do generally think that the CFP committee is looking for the best teams. But I think they're trying to come up with a combination of best and most deserving, and those aren't necessarily the same thing. Best and most deserving. Like if we had a 4-team playoff last year, Ohio State's not making the playoffs. Were they the best team in the country? I don't think there was any question by the end of the season Ohio State was the best team in the country. Would they have been the most deserving to make a 4-team playoff? Not even close. Well, maybe close, within 2 or 3 spots. But they would not have deserved a spot in the playoffs. Burks here is looking for 10-2 for Michigan, 8-4 possibility. Yeah, it's a it's quite the college football season that could be shaping up here. I think this could be one for the ages. I think that there aren't 3 or 4 teams like there were 5 or 10 years ago. Wasn't, Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, and then one other team, Ohio State or Oklahoma, and that's your 3 or 4 teams, and then there's separation. I don't see that separation anymore. Man, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan in the Big Ten, even Illinois is possibly going to be really good. Even a few other teams I am pegging in the Big Ten. And Clemson is clearly the one team in college football, much like they were in Dabo Swinney's heyday, where they appear to be significantly better than the rest of their conference. But the rest of these conferences, look at what the SEC finished last year. There's like a 7-way tie for second place in the SEC last year, or it must have been third place. Georgia, Texas made the championship game, and then the 5 and 3 teams that lined up. And I don't see anything much different than that this year in the SEC. I see 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams with 5 or 6 wins in the SEC. I see the same situation. I don't think Texas has the potential to be dominant. In the Big Ten, I don't know that anyone, maybe Penn State has the potential to be dominant. I just think there are a lot of really upper echelon teams in the Big Ten. But Ohio State's too inexperienced, I think, to be just bone-crushing, lay waste everyone. Michigan, I don't think is quite, again, to be dominant. I don't see another Oregon run in the Big Ten where they go 13-0. Sure, they needed a little bit of fortune against Ohio State. They slipped by Wisconsin. Otherwise, Oregon was pretty rock solid last year. Slipped by Boise State. Had a nice Big Ten championship game against Penn State. I don't see Penn State getting through undefeated. I don't see this separation of teams like we used to see. I think it's more like we've got 7 or 8 teams, 9 teams, instead of 2 or 3 most seasons in the 2010s. It's fascinating. Should be interesting. Then we got Notre Dame not playing in a conference. And it's funny because I just have this default in my head. I've got to admit, I'm going through the conferences and I'm forgetting about Notre Dame, but I, of course, am seeing them on everybody's schedules. And then I usually think, okay, that's a loss. Looking at the teams playing Notre Dame. And then I look at Notre Dame and I think, I'm pretty much forecasting them to win all these games against everybody. Is Notre Dame going to go undefeated? I don't think anyone's going to go undefeated like Oregon did last year. And of course, man, we had 3 undefeated teams the year before. Michigan, Florida State, Washington. 2022, I don't think we had any undefeated regular season teams. Maybe Georgia. 2021, we did have Georgia. 2020, we had, well, that was the COVID year, but we basically had Bama that played a full season undefeated. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there will be undefeated teams again, because we have had an undefeated team in the regular season of college football every year, going back to, when was the last time we did not? 2017. 2017 is the last year we did not have an undefeated team in college football. 2018, we had Alabama and Clemson in the regular season, and also Notre Dame. 2019, we had LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson. 2020, Alabama. Again, we had a bunch of teams running around like Ohio State was undefeated, but they only played 5 or 6 games. So basically, Alabama. 2021 was Georgia. 2022 was Georgia, Michigan, undefeated. 2023 regular season, Michigan, Florida State, Washington, and then, 2024, Oregon. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm bucking the odds by saying nobody's going to be undefeated, except maybe the Irish. They've got two tough games early. Two tough games early for the Irish, Texas A&M at home, and of course the openers at Miami. And I think Notre Dame's a better football team, top to bottom, than Miami. I'm pretty sold on Notre Dame being not significantly better than Miami, but decidedly. But on the road, Labor Day weekend, hostile environment, CJ Carr, first start on the road, hostile environment, interesting. But Miami's also going to start, well, they're going to start Carson Beck, and he should be ready to roll. All reports out of Miami are that Carson Beck is looking good. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. A bit of a programming note. If you follow our posts here at the Voice of College Football, no Iowa show with Corey Bratta. I know there's going to be a huge, I have just deflated the audience. Pick your spirits back up. Corey and I are going to attempt to get together sometime this week. So that's why you hit the bell for the notifications and subscribe. So you do that here, do that on the team channels. So for you Hawkeye fans or anybody that joins Corey and myself every Tuesday at 5:30 Eastern, no show tonight. However, we will be undaunted this week and hopefully find a time to put together an Iowa show for all of you, because I've got some things to say on Iowa football. I just produced a prediction video, so check it out. Iowa's got its work cut out for it with home games against Oregon, Penn State, somebody else tough, Minnesota, but somebody else tougher. Penn State, Oregon, Minnesota, somebody else that Iowa has to deal with at home. That is not going to be a cakewalk. Then they've got to go to Wisconsin. They've got to go to USC. They go to Iowa State. They finish up the season on the road against Nebraska. Iowa is playing a decidedly tougher schedule. Anyone playing in the Big Ten Western Division, you got the double whammy of the divisions being abolished. So you're having to play Eastern Division teams as much as the soft Western Division schedule. And then obviously the 4 came in from the West Coast. So you're having to deal with that. Interesting things happening in college football. Blue Wolverine. I have to note Blue Wolverine. I hope that you were around when I sang your praises yesterday. Not literally sang them. Nobody would want to hear that. But Blue Wolverine, on 2 separate occasions in the past week, gifted memberships here at the Voice of College Football. And those are going to be of great value to you for a number of reasons going forward. But specifically for the next couple of weeks, you get to be in on our watch party of the 2021 Michigan-Ohio State game that I am just going to greatly enjoy, sitting there for 3 hours watching Michigan beat the brains out of Ohio State. I'm going to relive, in particular, that basically the teams played on even terms in the first half, pretty much. I think Michigan outplayed Ohio State in the first half, but not by much. I think it was it 14-13 at half? That score comes to mind. And then Michigan, Ohio State just got pushed all over the field. They were on ice skates. Their defensive front, Michigan's offensive line just pushed it. It was just like they just pushed the line of scrimmage like 4 yards every play. And Hassan Haskins obviously had a legendary day. But there was a point in that game, there was about 4 minutes left. And Ohio State scored a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Or maybe they just scored a touchdown to make it 35-27. I think they had a 4th down, and they threw a little dump pass to Travion Henderson for a touchdown to make it 35-27. And you got to realize that I've watched Ohio State just crush Michigan for years and years and years at this point. And it went through my mind. Michigan has outplayed Ohio State today. They are the better team. And I think that proved out that they were the better team, although at that point I thought they're just the better team today. But Ohio State's defense was not good that year. But Travion Henderson scores his touchdown to make it 35-27 with about 4 minutes left. And I thought, Michigan's winning this game. They're the better team. They've played the better game. They have been physically dominant in this game. And Ohio State can pull this out. They can rob them of a win. But of course, it didn't happen because Ohio State's defense couldn't stop Hassan Haskins and the Michigan offensive line. So again, just a enormous win. In many ways, the biggest win of the Jim Harbaugh era. Difficult to say because, of course, there was a national championship included, and there was the famed Rose Bowl win. That was epic, of course, against Alabama. And again, other Ohio State wins, the other 2 seasons. Just think about what was at stake in 2022 and 2023. You're playing for the Big Ten championship. You're playing for a playoff bid, although Ohio State snuck in 2022, and the whole season's on the line. And let's see, 2022 and 23, Ohio State, was undefeated at 11-0, and Michigan knocked them off. So anyway, we will get together for that. But Blue Wolverine, yes, it is possible to have a purchased signed copy of my book. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. And I will say that I'm not going to endorse the book, but all of you fine folks have done a nice job of endorsing it for me because we have received nothing but positive feedback on this book. And I'm kind of a bad salesperson because, there was a lot of time and investment into this baby. So we would love to sell a whole bunch more copies to get up to the break-even mark. But more than anything, we just want to put a bit of college football nostalgia and also hypotheticals in your hand, give you something to think about concerning disputed national championships of the 1990s. And again, it's just not a history book, but it propels these particular seasons ahead into the BCS era, the 14 college football playoff era, the current 12-team era, and what would have happened in the 1990s had those formats been in play. So what you can do, Blue Wolverine, please hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. MarkRogersTV as in television. We used to watch television. Yeah, so that's where I got that. MarkRogersTV at Gmail, and just say, hey, Mark, can you send me a signed copy? And then we can exchange information there, and we will take it from there. But yes, absolutely, I do appreciate you asking. And again, everyone else can go to Amazon, or you can just grab the link in the description section of this video or any of the videos where it says Amazon. There's the link. You can grab it there, or you can just go to Amazon yourself and look up Disputed National Champions, and I believe you will enjoy it. Thank you for the super chat coming in. Here we've got Ryan. Thank you for that, Ryan. I don't agree with the P4 giving Notre Dame a free pass at the CFP. Notre Dame plays a cupcake schedule every year. Okay. There is some truth to that, and I will take up argument against some of it. So I totally agree with you, Brian, that Notre Dame should not be given a free pass. They should be in a conference. We are at a point in history. This is not 1992. If we went back 30 plus years, Miami, BYU, South Carolina, Louisville, West Virginia, Penn State, Syracuse, I could keep going, are independents. There's a zillion independents. We had like 4 conferences, 5 conferences with only like 8 or 10 teams in the conferences. So all these other teams were independents at the time. So fine, Notre Dame's one of them. Great. Not a big deal. Boston College, independent. All these independents. Basically, the Big East was founded by independents getting together and forming a conference. So at that point, not a big deal. We've arrived here in 2025, and it's Notre Dame. I don't care if UConn's a whatever. There's like 2 other teams that are independents that are inconsequential, and they're joining conferences. So it's Notre Dame. No, the rest of college football is formatted in conferences, and teams have to advance and play an extra game for a conference championship game. It's not fair. It's not right. I don't blame Notre Dame. It's not their fault. They can do whatever they want. And I expect Notre Dame to make decisions that are going to be in the best interest of Notre Dame. I don't expect them just to volunteer to join a conference. But that's where we fall short here, that there is not a power structure. There's not a commissioner or governing body to force them to say, this is no longer allowed. You are going to join this conference or that conference. Now, there might be a fight over Notre Dame to join a conference, but I have always believed that from a football standpoint and from a geographic standpoint, obviously Notre Dame belongs in the Big Ten. That is something I dreamed about like in the 80s and 90s, watching Notre Dame play football. And then, of course, playing those 3 rivalry games every year against Purdue, Michigan, and Michigan State. That, why aren't they in the Big Ten? That would be so awesome if they were in the Big Ten. And Ryan, just to drive home my point, in a real life, real football situation, let's understand in 2018, you had a situation on Championship Saturday where Ohio State was playing for the Big Ten Championship. Oklahoma was playing for the Big Ten Championship. They each had a loss, and one of them was not going to make the playoff because you had undefeated Alabama, Clemson, and Notre Dame, who was sitting on the couch. So I'm sitting there thinking, at first, well, Notre Dame's undefeated. They should be in the playoff. Then it hit me while I'm watching Ohio State, first Oklahoma playing in the Big 12 championship game at noon Eastern against Texas, and then later Ohio State Northwestern in the Big 10 championship game. It hit me for the first time, because before I thought, well, they're undefeated. They should be in the playoff. No. Wait a minute. Notre Dame sitting at home. They're watching these games, and we've got 2 conference champions, and one of them is going to be left out. And I in no way thought that the committee got it wrong by selecting Oklahoma over Ohio State. I did make it play for Ohio State. I would have done the same thing for Oklahoma because that's what I do. Even though some people don't believe that. They think I've got an agenda. I do play both sides, and then I take a stance. But in this particular year, Oklahoma had the opportunity to make up for its loss by beating Texas in a rematch. They also didn't have that ugly loss that Ohio State suffered against Purdue. So that was Oklahoma's resume. They got to beat Texas in the rematch, and they didn't have a bad loss. Ohio State had a bad loss, didn't get to avenge it, but Ohio State had a string of top 15 wins. They had much better wins than Oklahoma. Anyway, the committee said, we don't want Ohio State having a bad day on our watch and getting blown away by 28 points like they did against Purdue. So Oklahoma goes to the playoffs. I had no issue with that. The issue I had is that Notre Dame sitting at home, and what was ironic, this was so ironic to me. Notre Dame gets matched up against Clemson. Notre Dame's got an ACC contract to play ACC teams, 5 of them, sometimes 6 per season. They're playing Clemson in the national semifinal. They get obliterated 30-3. I'm thinking this should have been the ACC championship game. And they would have gotten knocked out, and we would have seen both Oklahoma and Ohio State in the playoff. And then, ironically, 2 years later, what happens? We have a pandemic, and Notre Dame has no one to play. They join the ACC for 1 year. They almost win the ACC championship game. They still go to the playoff, and they play Clemson in the ACC championship game 2 years after they should have been playing Clemson in the ACC championship game. It's ridiculous. Absolutely right, Ryan. Absolutely right. I do take exception, though, to them playing a cupcake schedule. One of the things that happened there, sir, is that Notre Dame used to play one of the toughest schedules in the country every year. They used to play a brutal schedule. Well, what changed was you take Michigan and Michigan State, and I know Purdue's not the greatest, and even Michigan State has had its slumps, But you take those 3 games off the board and you replace them with 5 games in the ACC. And if you look at Notre Dame's run against the ACC, aside from matching up against Clemson a few times, they have obliterated the ACC. Since they started that contract in 2015, their record against the ACC is like 50-3. They're just tearing up Duke and Virginia and Boston College and fill in the blank. So that's what lessened Notre Dame's schedule. Plus, Stanford got bad. Notre Dame had to deal with a Stanford team under Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw that was excellent for about 10 years. Well, they suck now. USC has not been USC. Florida State, they got to play them about 40% of the time. They have largely been bad since Jimbo Fisher left, except for the one Mike Norvell season, pretty much. So that's what happened to Notre Dame's schedule. Notre Dame is not trying to schedule light, but those factors that I just mentioned, those are the factors that have made Notre Dame's schedule much easier in recent years than it was years ago. Got Blue Wolverine checking in with this one. Thank you so much for that, Blue Wolverine. And coming back with this one, 10 Voice of College Football memberships. Thank you so much for that, sir. So I don't know exactly how it works, but as I understand it, there are 10 people in the chat that will receive college football memberships, Voice of College Football memberships here. So Blue Wolverine, thank you so much for that. That is very kind of you. And again, we're going to pay off these memberships first and foremost with a watch party every month. And during the season, I would love to do one once a week because, of course, we got college football every Saturday, and then we select the best game, and then we get together. We could do it like late night. Anyway, I'll take a poll. We'll figure out the best time to get together every week, and hopefully that will be something that you will enjoy. And we got to kind of work around some YouTube regulations to get that done so we do not get demonetized or worse than that, get thrown off YouTube. But I believe we have worked that out. It's going to be a little archaic, but trust me, it works elsewhere. Moose stepping up. Moose, thank you so much for being a member here at the Voice of College Football for 16 months. And it does at times, when it sinks in, amazes me that we've got Michigan fans who put up with me on a regular basis. I think they know that I try to cut it straight. Yes, I do love to poke fun at Michigan football from time to time. I can't help myself. At least that way you know I'm human. Otherwise, I just operate like a machine with the analysis. So you at least know. John, you did not miss the watch party. It has yet to be announced. So actually, John, the watch party was supposed to be last night. So I originally scheduled it for last night, the 16th, but I noticed in our StreamYard rundown of shows that you guys had a members party. And I thought, well, if you had a membership live stream, then that kind of defeats the purpose if a ton of Michigan fans aren't going to be available. So I thought, okay, well, cancel that. Plus, I was possibly going to go out of town either this week or next week. I think I'm going to move that little mini vacay to August. And so we're going to start our watch party. And again, we're going to get together during the off season once a month. And then the intent, if we've got enough members, is to do it once a week. We'll at least do it once a month during the season, but I think it would be great during the season to do it after every weekend. We take the best game. Shoot, week 1, Ohio State, Texas, LSU, Clemson. There's a bunch of them. Miami, Notre Dame, South Carolina, Virginia Tech. Whichever turns out to be the best game, I can almost predict, regardless of the score, it's going to be Ohio State and Texas. But whoever you vote on, I'll watch whatever. I'll watch the Tulane Northwestern game. Whatever you want to rewatch, we'll watch it, and we'll see how that plays out. Because I certainly appreciate everyone who's a member, and I want to give back. I know I've not been good at that in recent years. We originally were with our memberships, but there's been some things that have just basically didn't make any sense because I would make certain offers and the great majority of you, I've even taken polls from the members to say, what do you want me to deliver for your membership? And this is not taking myself off the hook. It's just the truth that the response overwhelmingly has been, you know what, Mark, you produce enough content. We're just members to be members. And that's very nice of you. But we would love to build a huge membership. So we want to deliver something. Over the last couple of years, it's been my predictions, but that's obviously only been during the season. You also get Steve Dace's predictions, you get Matt Zemek's predictions, and you get Steve Merrill from Wager Talk, his under the radar selection. So if you like to put a dime or two on the ball games, Steve Merrill, I counted up his record. It's documented. It's on Patreon. Whatever it is, it's like 27-12 against the spread since he jumped on with us doing this under the radar selection. So we hope to have Steve Merrill back for this season and to do the under the radar selections. And you get my predictions again, which admittedly by my standards were lousy last year. My predictions were lousy during the regular season, but you know what? I made up for it during the playoffs. So going 11-0. So we pulled through on that. We appear to have a little angst in the chat, which is fine. Yes, John, I think it might be the biggest game considering what transpired after that. Of course, breaking through again in 2022 and 23, and then winning the national championship. That win against Ohio State in 2021 might be the biggest game in Michigan football since, I don't know, you could make an argument that it's the biggest game in history, in the history of the school. Now, if they would have gone back to going 8-4 the next year and 8-4, then you wouldn't make that argument just because they won one against Ohio State and won the Big Ten championship. But because of what that blew down the door and they marched through and kept going and then followed it up and then followed it up. And in the rivalry last year, not in terms of a championship, but in the rivalry, followed it up again. I don't know. You could make an argument, and I guess I'm making it right now, that is the biggest game in the history of the school. All right, folks, we do appreciate you being here. Play nice in the chat. I hope you are. We encourage trash talking, but respectful trash talking. I know that makes absolutely no sense, but it does to me, and it should to most college football fans. Trash talk respectfully. So we do appreciate everyone's here. And again, the Iowa show is going to be rescheduled. So no Corey and myself at 5:30 Eastern. So the next time you're going to see me is for a big action-packed Wednesday. So Wednesday is always the time that I show up constantly. That's 11 a.m. Eastern for the Ohio State show. Then we got this show at 4. We've got the Miami show at 7. And then you're going to see me late night with Leanne Herring, 8:30 Eastern for the recruiting show. It's on the move Wednesday night, 8:30 Eastern at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here. Again, the book, Blue Wolverine, thank you so much for asking. Signed copy, MarkRogersTV at Gmail. If you want a signed copy, just hit me up there. Otherwise, you can order on Amazon. Keep in mind that all the audio from all these shows is available on your favorite audio platform. And we got to thank Jackson for that. Jackson is the guy that downloads all the audio on all the shows, on all the team channels, but this one included. So you can look up the Voice of College Football, select the team, or just the Voice of College Football on the national show here. And you can find that on iHeartRadio, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, etc. What else can I promote? VOCFB.com. Please check out our new website. We have put a ton of work into that. My thanks to TJ. My thanks to Chris Sadler. Those are my 2 right-hand guys. And then Matt Zemek, who is our chief editor. And then you've got Cliff, our Michigan friend, who does a tremendous job of content on his channel, but he is a computer whiz who launched our website, set it up, did all the coding and all the stuff I don't understand. So Cliff, thank you so much for that. We've got a social media team that has been so phenomenal. Check us out on Instagram, and I would bring up the Instagram except for I'm not logged in on my laptop anymore since I got a new laptop, and I don't even know what the login is. So I would pull it up to show you, but it's remarkable what our guys Patrick and Gabe have done on Instagram. They post twice a day, and the stuff that they come up with is remarkable. And I got to tell you, they have put some posts up here, and we just started on Instagram maybe about 2 months ago. And so we've only got like 400 people following us. So if you're on Instagram, please follow us on Instagram, the VOCFB. And let me try to find it. They have put up some posts that have done quite well. There's one on Brian Kelly that I have no idea why this is doing so well, but they put up a post of Brian Kelly. And remember the interview of Brian Kelly at the national championship game when they were getting completely curb stomped by Alabama in 2012? And he was shell shocked. And he basically said, I don't know what to do. He just, yeah. And that interview they put up there, I'm thinking it's a 12-year-old interview. Who's going to watch this? That thing has, again, my apologies that I can't show that on the screen. Anyway, that thing has 401,000 views on our Instagram. And it's got, oh, shoot, I don't know how to find the other stat. There we go. Over 20,000 likes, over 3,000 shares. And they've got some other stuff that they put up there that's, yeah, all sorts of good stuff on our Instagram. So check it out. Another one here, you got Derrick Henry running over Michigan State in the 2015 playoffs. And they just posted that the other day. And so if you're into nostalgia, there's a lot of that, but there's also, previews for the 2025 season. There's Alabama and a whole bunch of other teams. So check it out. If you're on Instagram, it's a great place to be. You can follow me on Instagram too if you want to, but you're just going to see whatever I post, which is very rare for me to post anything. Follow me on Twitter, on X. If you're not on X, I do not recommend it. I don't. There is something on X every day. Well, more like 42 things per day that piss me off. So you probably don't want to go on X. But if you're on X, follow me on X. Follow the channel on X. It's the VOCFB, and it's Mark Rogers VOCFB. I believe we've got a super chat coming in. We so much appreciate our guy, Blue Wolverine. Thank you so much for that. That is so nice. And I did actually take the time and the care to set up the Michigan helmet because we talked Michigan football today. Normally, just whatever's there is there. Except, we do the Miami show. I'll put the Miami helmet there, the Ohio State show. But that's what I'm down to. I used to host all these shows. Now I'm just doing about 4. But the rest of them are just haphazard. But we did throw the Michigan helmet back there. So thank you so much for the contribution, sir. And it is great to see everyone here. And I guess we did not get to Moose. Mark, take out Kentucky and put in Ohio State. That's your team. Ohio State is, oh, they're down here. Got a lot of big time schools down here on the bottom shelves. Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon. That's all right. Sometimes I actually knowingly put the obscure teams up there. Navy, Nevada, just to give them some love. Just to give them some love. What we were actually going to show today and talk about was I posted a video a few days ago, maybe sometime last week, of all-time rankings of schools in the Big 12. But we have not gotten to this yet. But we will at some point, and I will get my rear in gear and put together a Big Ten, an ACC, and an SEC all-time rankings video, and we'll discuss right here. Steve has designated himself my top Twitter and X follower. Well, I did not know who that was, who the top one was, but I'm glad, Steve, that you have alerted me to your position as the top one. So I appreciate that. And again, you can follow me, as always, on Twitter/X. Minnie is saying wow to something, so that's causing me to try to find out what the wow is all about. Could be the Delaware helmet comment. Where is Jackson today? Hopefully Jackson is fine. I believe he is. I think I even got a text from Jackson today. You know, maybe Jackson should take a day off. We would like Jackson to take a day off at some point. No, the great Corey Bretta will not be appearing tonight. John, the point I was making, if I'm reading your comment correctly there about 1997 had some pivotal games. Absolutely, it did. There were some close calls for Michigan that year, Iowa, Ohio State, etc., and the Rose Bowl. But then in 1998, 99, Michigan had good teams, but they didn't win championships and didn't continue that 1997 run. When Michigan beat Ohio State in 2021, obviously that then continued through 22-23 and in the rivalry 24, but 22 and 23 in particular, because that busted down the door. And of course, they were beating Ohio State before 1997. They beat them in 96, 95, 93. So I just think that 2021 game is enormous. All right, folks, I believe that should do it. Again, check out vocfb.com, and we'll make it on back here next. That would be on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And we've got the Ohio State show at 11 a.m. Eastern Time as well. So check us out on the Buckeye channel with Steve Hellwagon and Tony Gerdeman. That's at 11 a.m. on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for being here and for the support. We love talking college football with you.